I'm sick and I still went out to see this movie. Totally worth it. Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing horse, because when it comes to cinema, humans cannot be trusted. And before you ask, no, I don't have COVID. I'm a horse. Horses can't get COVID. Mamoru Hosoda. Got your name right this time. Director of 2 movies featured on this show, The Boy and the Beast and Mirai. You may also know him for his work on Wolf Children, Summer Wars, Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Wolf Children, Digimon Adventure, or Wolf Children. I love Wolf Children so much. Every 3 years, this guy comes out of nowhere and says, "Watashi wa kasaku o riritsu shite imasu. Soshite sore ni tsuitse anata ga dekeru koto wa nani mo arimasen." Which roughly translates to, I'm releasing a masterpiece and there's nothing you can do about it. 3 years ago it was Mirai, 3 years before that it was The Boy and the Beast, and 3 years before that it was Wolf Children. But none of those matter right now, because last year we got a new film, Belle, with 2 E's. This was the 3rd highest grossing Japanese film last year. 6.53 billion yen in box office rankings. And it just came to the States, and people are going nuts over it. You can see this movie in IMAX. IMAX! And you know what? I probably should have. This is his most visually outstanding film. Like, he pulled out all the stops for this one. What we saw in Mirai was just a taste of the amount of 3D that we end up getting in this movie. But there's a very interesting clash of visuals in this movie. Little bit of an explanation needed here. About half of this movie takes place in a metaverse called U, which is where all of the 3D is used. And then there's reality, the real world, where all of the hand-drawn animation gets used. And it's some really, really well done hand-drawn, too. Even if a lot of it is really laid back. There's this one scene that goes on for like 3 minutes, and it's just this shot in the train station. The only movement we have here are the characters. But the scene still manages to stand out really well with its incredibly great character interactions. And this movie manages to go from the visual simplicity of that to the eye candy and visual spectacular that is this. This movie can be absolutely insane if it wants to be. And it wants to be. There is a lot going on visually in this movie. Sometimes it can even be hard to follow. But holy crap, this movie likes to go big. The movie itself opens up on a thunderous note, and she's singing on the back of this whale, and it's got speakers for barnacles, and it's insane. And then immediately cuts to our actual main character, who is a shy loner. A perfect analogy for literally everybody on the internet. Like that's me. Like, that is exactly me. He does a lot of stuff like that in this movie. Like, stuff that just clicks really, really well with me. Hosoda-san has clearly been hanging around the internet a lot, but the difference between this movie and tons of other movies that try to do the internet, Hosoda seems to get it. Everyone is a different person online. Everyone's trying to be the next big thing. Everyone is chasing trends. Everyone has opinions, and those opinions will be made fun of by other people's opinions. It goes on and on. This movie paints a perfect analogy and amalgamation of what our society has evolved into. Or at least the online one, which is interesting. This movie was in development for 3 years, an eternity in internet time, and yet it still manages to feel relevant. All the while paying 15,000 homages to Beauty and the Beast, which is, a lot of critics are saying that this movie draws a lot of comparisons to Beauty and the Beast. It feels like a more modernized and more relative rendition of Beauty and the Beast. It's actually really scary how easy it is to compare the two in terms of plot and aesthetics. I would argue that the plot for this movie, though, feels larger. There's a lot more going on. There's a bunch of characters in this movie who are just kind of doing their own thing, and we don't know a lot about them. There's like a choir group in this movie who are trying to be helpful, and then there's this other singing character who's... I feel like she's trying to be a character in this movie, or at least a rival of sorts, but we only see her 3 or 4 times. But it never really feels like it takes anything away from the movie. In fact, it kind of helps it. The entire world isn't revolving around our main characters, which in turn kind of helps them feel more personified when it is about the main character. Part of this movie is also a manhunt. They're trying to figure out who somebody is. And they go through a whole bunch of suspects before they finally figure out who it is. I don't want to spoil too much of this movie, but it's a nobody. It's another nobody. It's not some great big guy. It's not some chump who doesn't want to be a chump. It's just nobody. At the end of the day, this is a movie about nobodies trying to be something, but they can't really be somebody in the real world, so they attempt to escape from reality. And that's something that all of us do every now and then. We try to escape from our real lives. We all need to find that safe space. Someplace we feel happy. Someplace we belong. It's just somewhere along the way in this movie, our main character found a way to live again. It's a coming-of-age story. If you must drill down to the bedrock of this movie, it's a really well-executed coming-of-age story. But there's so much more going on, albeit with a few pacing issues, but nothing that really totally impacts the flow of the movie. This movie can absolutely take on the go big or go home mentality and then handle its insanely slow slowdowns very, very well. And it all builds up and culminates into this great, big, amazing finale, and then, by the end of the movie, there were tears in my eyes. I think that's all that needs to be said. I cannot stress this enough. This is my favorite animated movie of this year. I don't care what comes out after this. My final verdict on this movie is a 9.8. I haven't given out one of those in a very, very long time. Always the skepticist, I went into this movie thinking this is going to be the one. This is the one that isn't going to get it right. This is the one that I'm not going to enjoy. But this might be my favorite Hosoda film. Finally, something that can compete for the top slot with Wolf Children. Studio Chizu took their last 2 films and completely blew them out of the water. This is better than Mirai. This is like Summer Wars if we didn't have the overemphasis on family. This movie does still stress the importance of family. All of his films do, but this was more a movie about finding yourself, growing as a person, escaping from reality for a little bit so that you can try to pick up the pieces of your life and put it back together. Sure, a lot of movies do that, but this one did it better, going above and beyond my expectations and then some. And it's absolutely amazing. Find this movie. Go see this movie. It is absolutely incredible. If you see any movie that I recommend this year, see this one. And I do plan on seeing a lot of movies this year. Finally, for a decent change of pace, we might get more than 5 episodes of Hunter reviews this year. That's probably a relief for you guys, but I have my work cut out for me. Right after I get over this cold. My name is Hunter, and this has been a Hunter review. I'm gonna get some soup. Soup sounds really good right about now.
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.